आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम। नगर नगर ये ग्राम और ये गलियारे, भरने इनमें नव जीवन के उजियारे। नगर नगर ये ग्राम और ये गलियारे, भरने इनमें नव जीवन के उजियारे। बार बार हम दोहराते हैं यही कसम, यही कसम, यही कसम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम। हमें हटाना घर घर से अंधियारा है, हमें तोड़नी पाखंडों की धारा है। हमें हटाना घर घर से अंधियारा है, हमें तोड़नी पाखंडों की धारा है। सच को कहने वाली चलती रहे कलम, चलती रहे कलम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम। कदम मिलाकर नर नारी सब और बढ़े, ज्ञान और विज्ञान नए सोपान चढ़े। कदम मिलाकर नर नारी सब और बढ़े, ज्ञान और विज्ञान नए सोपान चढ़े। देना है संदेश यही हमको हरदम, यही हमको हरदम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम, आशाओं की किरण जगाने वाले हम, जन जन से संपर्क बढ़ाने वाले हम।
Namaste. On behalf of Public Relations Society of India, I, Sheetal Sharma, welcome all the dignitaries, PR stalwarts from across the world, PR officials, mass communication, journalism, and public relations academicians and students who are with us on the 43rd All India Public Relations Conference from across the world. All India PR Conference is Jan Sampark Kumbh and is attended by PR and corporate communications professionals, HR, CSR and media practitioners, academicians and students of mass communications every year. 43rd All India Public Relations Conference is being organized on Facebook Live during 3rd to 5th January on the theme Shaping Up New India Through Innovation, Creativity and Make in India Efforts, Role of Effective Public Relations. Our first segment of the conference is Skill and Innovation Platform. I'm happy to present to you the first session of the conference. Skill development will decide fortune of the country. Our speaker is Mr. Kant Singh, ex-head National Skill Development Corporation, New Delhi. He has been associated with skill development process for over a decade and is now the best resource to speak on the subject, which will be the real game changer for the nation. I present to you Mr. Kant Singh.
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank Sri Ajit Pathak ji for giving me this opportunity to share my views on how skilling is going to shape up the future of the country. I think for all initiatives, what actually boils down is the skill set. We may have a very ambitious plan, we may have very innovative ideas, but finally it boils down how the execution happens. This country doesn't have lack of talent. What it lacks is how they are trained. Are they being properly trained? Are they being properly groomed? So we have seen there is no dearth of fund now, there is no dearth of financials, there is no dearth of projects. What is missing is the right skill set. This is what every industry in the country laments for. And we are talking of demographic dividend. The world population is aging. India has 65% of its population which are below the age of 35. This is the right time to reap the demographic dividend. Lot of new initiatives have started in the country. If we see, Government of India has taken, under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, has taken up so many new initiatives like Make in India, Digital India, Startup India, and they all have got the lateral support of Skill India. You will be surprised to know that after independence, first time in the country, we had a Ministry of Skill Development in 2014 when our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi took over as the Prime Minister of the country. Such an important subject was taken up almost after 70 years of independence. So, how is it shaping up? It's almost 8 to 10 years now. The skill initiatives were started first in 2009, 2010. We had the Prime Minister's Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana started in 2015. The National Skill Policy was launched in 2015. Lot of changes, it has gone a lot of changes in the last few years. And it still requires significant change in the approach and the implementation strategy. What are the basic components of skill? We need to have a good infrastructure, a permanent infrastructure, a good trainer, and a good content. And after all, we also need a sincere beneficiary who are looking forward to benefit from the efforts being provided on skilling. I think government is very focused on taking care of the first three. But we have, in my experience of last 10 years, I have seen we also need to create awareness and make skill aspirational, because the beneficiary doesn't give a lot of value because they don't see the importance, the change in their income, the change in their respect after undergoing a training cycle, after undergoing a certification program. So we have to make skills respectable, and for doing that, each and every citizen has to work, has to create a positive atmosphere, has to talk positive about it, should start respecting the skills, because we have almost in every house two types of youth: one who has got a certificate from a skilling ecosystem and another who has got a certificate from a university ecosystem. And we see that in the family and in the society, people with university certificate without earning are respected, but people with a skill certificate, although they earn, do not have the same level of respect, because the career growth cycle is not so visible. Whereas last 60 and 70 years, we have seen that if you are a graduate, you have got entry and growth at all levels. But if you have got a skill certificate, we haven't seen the growth so far. So my humble request to everybody is to create a positive atmosphere, to talk how a skill certificate and how an individual who has skilled could impact the society, how their career could grow, because with all your certificate, without having basic understanding, basic skill, the growth is not possible. It's also important to mention, talk about today the new education policy. And we have seen yesterday, Government of India, Ministry of Skill Development has launched a new skilling policy, which is taking a coup from the national new education policy, wherein the focus is to create permanent infrastructure, permanent training centers in education ecosystem, education campuses. So in the pilot phase, they would be setting up 5,000 skill hubs in schools and higher education infrastructures. Till yesterday, this was a big cause of concern, because training centers were found at multiple locations for very short-term courses, and it wasn't existing throughout the year also. So hope with the skill hubs being set up at permanent locations like the school institution campuses, the ITIs, the NELETs, the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Kendras, I'm sure it will become a destination, a well-known permanent destination for any individual, any youth to visit and undergo and understand the training requirements, the training needs, the career path. And these skill hubs will also be providing counseling for youth starting from class 9 onwards. So I think it's a great initiative, and we must appreciate this effort of the Government of India. How skilling is going to contribute to the economy, and how is it going to shape the fortune of the country? I think it's a skill and only a skill which is going to shape up the fortune of the country, because if you talk of manufacturing, you need skilled manpower. If you talk of services, you need skilled manpower. So right from the day we are born, right from morning to evening, every action, every product, every service requires some set of a skill or the other. And I'm sure if all the stakeholders equally put in their sincere efforts, their heart into it, the skilling ecosystem and the service providers, the beneficiaries, every individual is going to benefit, and it is going to change the quality of manufacturing. It is going to change the productivity in manufacturing. It is going to impact the bottom line because your productivity is going to improve, your quality is going to improve, your prices will give you better return at the same cost of investment with a good quality of manpower. And the same will happen in case of service sector, because you will be able to satisfy your clients with good experienced manpower delivering these services in a desired time, right place, right time, right quality, right cost. So I think everything has got this a need of qualified skilled manpower, which is going to significantly contribute towards the growth of the economy, because the investment remains the same. What is going to change is the quality of delivery, the quality of services, the quality of product, and this is going to change the earnings of the service providers, of the manufacturers, and going to give a lot of satisfaction to the consumers or the clients. So thank you very much. Skilling, and skilling. It's only skilling which is going to shape up the future of the country. And today, with the efforts of Government of India, Ministry of Skill Development and Ministry of Education, together jointly they are putting in effort under the new education policy to change the skilling ecosystem of the country, which is going to support all other initiatives of the government like Startup India, Make in India, Digital India, any construction activity. So please support the good efforts of the government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kant Singh, for the wonderful presentation setting pace for the conference. Our next speaker is Dr. Amrita Chakraborty, Assistant Professor, Mass Communication, School of Liberal Studies, Pandit Deendayal, Energy University, Gandhinagar. She will be speaking on Public Relations Activities by the Government of India, Digital India Initiative. Dr. Amrita is PhD from the School of Liberal Studies under Pandit Deendayal Energy University, which is ranked as the best private university in the state of Gujarat. She will be honored by the PRSI under the scheme to promote in public relations. She will be the PRSI member and will also get a cash award of 11,000 rupees. Let us give her a big round of applause and listen about her work.
Hello all, this is Dr. Amrita Chakraborty. I am currently an assistant professor in Media and Communication at the School of Liberal Studies under Pandit Deendayal Energy University at Gandhinagar in Gujarat. It is my sheer privilege to virtually address the distinguished crowd during the coveted PRSI National Award 2021 and the 43rd All India Public Relations Conference organized by the Public Relations Society of India. I consider this to be a high point in my career. I sincerely thank Dr. Ajit Pathak, the National President of PRSI, for giving me this unique opportunity to speak in front of you. The exciting domain of public relation has been my passion for quite a while. Nothing, and I repeat, nothing beats the pleasure of being connected to fellow human beings, which is the fundamental objective of doing the public relations. One of the primary prerequisites of being connected is to be empathetic and humane. Over the past 15 years of my professional life, I have practiced just that, empathy. However, it was important for me to have set the context right so that I can present you something that is very close to my heart, something that I am immensely proud of. Well, there is no prize for guessing. I am indeed talking about my PhD thesis. Just so that everyone knows, I received the provisional certificate for my PhD in the month of August 2020, while I was formally convocated for the degree in November 2020. I did my PhD from the same organization where I am currently working, the School of Liberal Studies under Pandit Deendayal Energy University. Now that the decks have been cleared, let me begin my presentation on my PhD topic. The title of the thesis is a little longer. However, as most of you would be knowing that research at times demands us to be super specialized. Therefore, the title was The Digital India Initiative, a trend study on the public relations activities by the Government of India through social media with reference to Twitter while measuring the public opinion. To put it in simple terms, my fundamental objectives was to find out on how the Indian government was leveraging the social media in general and Twitter in particular to push their agenda in furthering the scope of the famed Digital India Initiative. Subject to the fact that the scope is too big and 30 minutes might not be enough to put across the entire work, I shall try to be as brief as possible. It doesn't hurt when we segment our work for the purpose of establishing clarity. That is exactly when I shall do during the course of my presentation entitled The Public Relation Activities by the Government of India, Digital India Initiative. Let me first summarize my work. The oft-discussed Digital India Initiative, a flagship program of the Government of India, has been in the limelight for all the right reasons. Over the past half decades and more, the program has been instrumental in trying to convert India into a digitally empowered nation. From digital payment to e-governance, the program has multiple objectives. While the internet penetration in India continues to grow in a rapid pace, the program has been able to catch a significant momentum. In face of all this development, I made a point to analyze the public relations activities carried out by the Government of India through the social media platforms. However, out of all the existing social media platforms, I chose Twitter to study and tried finding out the public opinion concerning the Digital India Initiative. In an effort to study the public relations activities carried out by the Government of India vis-a-vis the Digital India Initiative and analyze the public opinion concerning the program, I divided the research study into three objectives. The first objective tried deciphering the Twitter priorities of the Digital India Initiative over a period of 1 year from November 21, 2016 to November 20, 2017. The second objective tried to find out the effectiveness of tweets in shaping up the public opinion. The third objective was to see whether the official Twitter account of the Digital India Initiative could tilt public opinion in its favor, while the content analysis was the research methodology that was followed for the first and the third objective. The survey among the netizens was conducted in order to fulfill the second objectives. Despite best effort through, I had to grapple with a multiple limitation. All in all, I tried understanding the impact of Twitter on popularizing the scheme under the Digital India Initiative. However, there is a scope for further research on this subject. Now, let us specifically look at the primary objectives of the study. The study had three primary objectives. Objective 1. To uncover the Twitter Priority of Digital India initiative over a period of 1 year from November 21, 2016 to November 20, 2017. In order to fulfill the above objective, I tried finding answer of the following research questions. Question 1. What are those three pillars of the Digital India initiative that featured in the highest number of tweets on the Twitter page of Digital India? Question number 2. What are the primary topics under each of these tweeted pillars? Question number 3. What are the monthly frequencies of the tweets by the Twitter page of Digital India, and what are the identical frequencies for each of the top three pillars? Question number 4. What are the percentage of original tweets posted by the Twitter page of Digital India among all the tweets and the retweets? Question 5. What are the correlation between the Digital India tweets and retweets? Objective 2. To measure the effectiveness of public persuasion through the tweets made by the Digital India initiative among netizens, and to identify the association, if any, between the area of residence with direct benefit transfer, 4G connectivity, common service center, and unified payment interface. In order to fulfill the above objectives, I tried finding answer to the following research questions. Question 1. What are the demographic details of the respondents with respect to their respective states and union territories of residence, area of residence, gender and age group? Question number 2. What percentage of respondents is using Twitter? Question 3. What percentage of respondents is following the Digital India page on Twitter? Question 4. How satisfied are the respondents with respect to the various services offered by the Digital India? Question 5. What are the respondents' take on the key services of Digital India such as direct benefit transfer, common service center, Make in India and digital locker? Question 6. Has the Digital India initiative helped in creating more jobs in the IT industry since 2016? Question 7. Do the respondents believe that their data is secure when they put them in any government portal? Question 8. What is the impact of Digital India initiative on mobile services? Question 9. What is the relationship between direct benefit transfer, 4G connectivity, common service center and unified payment interface and citizens in terms of their area of residence, that is metropolitan area, urban area and rural areas? Objective 3. To identify whether the official Twitter handle of the Digital India could tilt public opinion in its favor. In order to fulfill the above objectives, I tried finding answer to the following research questions. What are the various categories of public comments and what are their respective numbers? Question 2. What are the top Twitter accounts that received the highest comments falling under the support, neutral, criticism and inquiry categories? Question 3. What are the categories of communication, that is language or links, used in comments by the public and what sentiment do they reflect? Now, without getting into the technical drudgeries, let me point out the findings of the study. While the study revealed multiple aspects, the most important point that came out is that more people posted supportive comments on Twitter than criticizing comments. Therefore, Twitter established itself as an instrument for public persuasion in terms of the Digital India initiative. Additionally, following points also prominently surfaced. Point number 1. E-Kranti, e-governance and electronic manufacturing constitute the top 3 pillars under the Digital India program. These 3 pillars were featured in the highest number of tweets. Point number 2. For E-Kranti, the primary topics that were dealt with were the conferences and general updates, Under digital payment, the top 3 categories were digital payment, Bhim app and DigiDhan Abhiyan. In the conference category, the 3 mainly talked about were the 5th Global Conference on Cyberspace GCCS 2017. It was the world's largest conference on cyberspace. Point number 3. The primary topic under e-governance were Aadhaar, mobile app, digital document attestation and online repositories. Under Aadhaar, the main categories that were discussed include the Aadhaar card, direct benefit transfer, UIDAI under mobile app and the topic that were posted including the unified mobile application for new age governance, Umang and Rail Sarthi. Under digital document attestation, the primary topic of tweets were of the digital document attestation category. Under the online repositories, the topics that were discussed include the DigiLocker, the National Academic Depository and the Open Government Data. Point number 4. There are no additional subcategories among the categories of electronic manufacturing. Point number 5. ICA-GOV was featured in the highest number of tweets. It is pertinent to note that India hosted the 10th International Conference on the Theory and Practice of Electronic Governance ICA-GOV in 2017. Point number 6. The other 2 topics which were prominent in tweets were Make in India and mobile manufacturing. It is important to underscore the mobile manufacturing is a part of the Make in India initiative. Point number 7. The highest number of tweets was posted in the 2nd month followed by the 7th month and the 12th month. Point number 8. E-Kranti was featured in the highest number of posts for month 2. The topics that were discussed under E-Kranti includes the digital payment and DigiDhan. Point number 9. For month 12 as well, E-Kranti was featured in the highest number of posts. The topic that was discussed was GCCS 2017. Point number 10. The Digital India promotions was featured in the highest number of tweets for month 7. Point number 11. Digital India originally posted 63% of the total number of tweets while 37% of the posts were retweeted by others. Point number 12. When the monthly distribution of tweets and retweets are compared, it is found that there is an identical trend between the first month to the 4th month. Between the first and the 4th month, digital payment received the highest highlight with 37 tweets. In terms of retweets as well, the digital payment topped the chart with 31 posts. From the 4th month to the 6th month, one sees a shift in the pattern of both the graphs. Between the 4th and the 6th month, the highest number of posts by the Digital India was on ICE-Gov with the total count being 9 tweets. During the same period, digital payment was mentioned in the highest number of retweets with the number being 7 posts. There is again an identical trend from the 6th to the 8th month. Between the 6th and the 8th month, the highest number of posts by the Digital India was on the topic Digital India promotion with 18 tweets. For the retweets as well, the same topic was featured in the highest number of posts with the count being 8. Lastly, both tweets and retweets moved upward until the 12th month. Between the 8th and the 12th months, the highest number of posts by Digital India was on GCCS with the count being 52 tweets. For retweets as well, the same trend was seen with the highest number of posts being on GCCS with the count standing at 50. Point number 13. The correlation R between X, which is the number of tweets, and Y, which is the number of retweets, is 0.77. It shows that there is a strong positive correlation between the number of tweets by Digital India and the retweets by others. In other words, it means that as the number of tweets increases, the number of retweets increases simultaneously. Point number 14. The researcher circulated the survey among citizens who are users of Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook and WhatsApp. The survey was circulated to 322 netizens, out of which the researcher received 109 responses. The highest percentage of responses was received from WhatsApp users, that is 30%, followed by Twitter 25%, Facebook 23% and LinkedIn 22%. Point number 15. The researcher received responses from 23 different states and union territories. The highest responses was received from Gujarat, that is 18%, followed by West Bengal and Tripura with 10% each. Point number 16. Men represent 75% of the total respondents. Only 25% of the respondents were female. Point number 17. The highest number of respondents is between the age of 25 to 34 years and 35 to 44 years. The respondents above 55 of the age are just 3 in number. Point number 18. 67% of the respondents use Twitter. Only 33% of the respondents do not use Twitter out of this total sample. They use the other 3 social media platforms, which are WhatsApp, Facebook and LinkedIn. Point number 19. Among 109 respondents, 39% followed the Digital India page on Twitter. The rest 61% do not follow the Digital India page. Point number 20. 72% of the respondents are satisfied with the Digital India initiative. 28% of the respondents are not satisfied with the Digital India initiative. Point number 21. Among the 5 services of Digital India, digital payment got the highest rank by the respondents with 73.39% of acceptance. Direct benefit transfer received the second highest rank with 55.96% of acceptance, followed by the Startup India and Skill India with 52.29% each. Point number 22. When digital payment was compared with some additional services of Digital India, it still received the highest rank in terms of the services with 64.22% acceptance. E-Visa and Common Service Center CSC stood in second and third rank with 53.21% and 49.54% acceptance respectively. Point number 23. Only 40% of the respondents avail the advantage of direct benefit transfer through Aadhaar registration. Point number 24. Only 18% of the respondents avail the facility of Common Service Center. Point number 25. 50% of the respondents are aware about Make in India. Point number 26. Only 33% of the respondents use digital locker for storing documents digitally. Point number 27. 50% of the respondents believe that their data is secure when they put them in any government portal. Point number 28. 32% of the respondents believe that they or their family members have got job in the IT industry or the IT department of companies since 2016. The rest 68% say that neither they nor any of their family members has got job in the IT industry. Point number 29. 94% of the respondents say that they had been using mobile phones even before 2014. Hence, the Digital India initiative did not make any impact in terms of the mobile subscription. Point number 30. 57% of the respondents say that they are getting broadband or 4G connectivity at their respective places. 31% of the respondents say that they do not get the service in their respective areas. 12% respondents say that they do not know if the broadband or the 4G services is available at their areas of residence. Point number 31. 77% of the respondents say that they use mobile wallets such as Paytm or Bheem for money transfer or purchases. Point number 32. 61% of the respondents use UPI for money transfer. Point number 33. 40% of the respondents use mobile app for government like My Government, Umang or Rail Sarthi. The rest 60% of the respondents do not use these apps. Hence, such apps are not much accepted by the people. Point number 34. People living in the metropolitan area do not avail the facilities of CSE or take the advantage of direct benefit transfer. On the other hand, the same population get broadband facility and use the UPI for money transfer. Point number 35. People living in the urban areas do not avail the facilities of CSE or take the advantage of direct benefit transfer. They do not get the broadband connectivity and hence they do not use the UPI for money transfer. Point number 36. The people living in the rural areas do not avail the facilities of CSE and take the advantage of direct benefit transfer. They get the broadband connectivity and hence use UPI for money transfer. Point number 37. While interpreting the various categories of comments over tweets by Digital India, it was found out that supportive comments represent the highest category with a total number of 230 comments or 26% of the total comments of 881 taken for study. Point number 38. The next highest number of comments falls under the neutral category with accounts for 135 comments or just 15% of the total comments. Point number 39. 15% of the comments were out of the context comments that has no relation with the Digital India tweets. Point number 40. There are 122 comments with criticism which accounts for 14% of the comments being studied. Point number 41. A number of individuals came up with inquiries for various services of Digital India which accounts for 90 comments or 10%. Point number 42. While identifying the various categories of public comments and their top Twitter accounts, it was found that with 36.8% of supportive comments, it is evident that the tweets by Ravi Shankar Prasad were more accepted by the people. Tweets by Digital India with the number being 541 were supported only 127 times, translating to 23.47%. Point number 43. 21.09% of the comments through the tweets of Ravi Shankar Prasad are neutral. Prasad got the higher percentage of neutral comments as compared to the comments received by the Digital India account, which stands at 15.34%. Point number 44. With a smaller number of tweets, the people criticizing the tweets of Ravi Shankar Prasad more than the Digital India tweets by 5.03%. Point number 45. The percentage of inquiries asked by the Digital India and Ravi Shankar Prasad are almost the same. Ajay Prasad Sauni received 3 inquiries from 11 posts. Those inquiries was mainly on the National Digital Payment Mission, the extent of digital platform inside the Parliament and its adaptation by the members of Parliament. One of the comments also sought more information on the TCS initiative to be on board and train merchants on the Aadhaar enabled platforms. Point number 46. Out of the 881 comments studied in this research, the researcher found that 204 comments or 69% of the comments are in English language. There were 165 tweets which received no comments from the people. Those tweets were from various accounts and covered 8 pillars of Digital India. There were 99 comments which were posted in Hindi language. They accounted for 11% of the total post. Point number 47. The highest number of supportive comments was in English language. Out of the 608 comments in English, the percentage of supportive comments stood at 33.55%, criticizing comments stood at 16.94%, and neutral comments stood at 19.90%. Out of the 99 comments in Hindi, supportive comments stood at 23.23%, criticizing comments stood at 19.19%, and neutral comments stood at 14.14%. Thus, the percentage of supportive and neutral comments was higher in English language by 10.32% and 5.76% respectively. The percentage of criticizing comments were higher in Hindi language by 2.25%. While I have tried explaining my findings in the layman's term, there is a possibility of people not remembering some of the data. Therefore, let me point out the main findings that would help put the entire research into a definite perspective. Therefore, the main findings are: point number 1, e-Kranti, e-governance and electronic manufacturing constitute the top 3 pillars under the Digital India program. Point number 2, an overwhelming majority of the people are satisfied with the Digital India initiative. Point number 3, supportive comments represent the higher category with 26% of the total comments, that is of 881 taken for study. The next highest number of comments fall under the neutral category, which accounts for 135 comments or 16% of the total comments. In excess of 2/3 of the comments on the Twitter page of Digital India are in English. While doing the study, there are certain areas of improvement that came to light. Without wasting any time, let me put those up. Point number 1, instead of focusing on the certain aspects and pillars of Digital India program in terms of recurring tweets, there should be an effort to promote all the pillars of the program on an equal footing on Twitter. Point number 2, the Government of India should make a dedicated attempt at improving the digital infrastructure in the urban areas where there are significant disruptions due to internet outage. This would considerably enhance the popularization of the program. Point number 3, the Government of India should increase the total number of tweets in Hindi, as there seems to be a gap in communication at times to the limited ability of a large number of population to understand English. An increased number of tweets in Hindi would translate to the positive aspects of the program, reaching to a larger number of people. Just to add, I have published my study in the form of a book by the name Digital India on Twitter. It is available on Flipkart. If anyone is interested, she or he can check it out. I sincerely thank Pandit Deendayal Energy University for supporting me and my work. I would like to dedicate my work to the organization. And obviously, I would like to thank Professor Dr. Pradeep Malik, my guide, for helping me throughout. He happened to be my reporting head at the work as well. Thus, far and no further, it was simply been a pleasure talking about my PhD study. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. See you another day. Wishing you a great and productive time ahead. Bye and take care.
Thanks, Dr. Amrita, for a wonderful presentation. Now we have an interesting session: Innovation, Creativity and Public Relations, which will be taken by Mr. Gagan Chaturvedi, Deputy Director General, Ordnance Factory, Kolkata. Mr. Chaturvedi has creatively led his team all these years and has not been impacted even by the pandemic to continue their march for excellence. Technical knowledge blended with PR vision makes him the best resource to talk on the subject. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Gagan Chaturvedi.
Chairman of the Public Relations Society of India, Dr. Ajit Pathak, the Secretary General, Shri V M Bansal, office bearers, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a pleasure to stand before you today. I and to put before you my thoughts on a rather intriguing topic that has been assigned to me by the PRSI: creativity, innovation and public relations. The initial reaction to such a topic is that what possible correlation can public relations have with creativity and innovation? Did Michelangelo paint the Sistine Chapel after being motivated by a public relations campaign? Did Sir Isaac Newton discover the laws of gravity after being spurred by public relations messaging? The initial answer is no. But when one is forced to contemplate the topic at a deeper level, one realizes that after all, what is public relations? Public relations is the purposive and focused communication which is directed at various publics to enhance the brand image of the organization. And how do public relation professionals like you and I go about doing such a thing? We construct a narrative. We construct a story. A narrative that is a singular message of what the brand stands for, or what the organization stands for. In the case of Michelangelo, it was what the Italian city-states stood for, what the Medici family stood for. It provides an internal vision. It addresses perceptions of people, of audiences, of consumers of this narrative, and it is singular and has a definite direction. Now, when we think in terms of Michelangelo in Italy, Italy was in the grip of a movement called the Renaissance, a movement that idealized the study of art and literature from antiquity, from classical Greece and Rome. It emphasized the importance of observation, critical analysis, and above all, creativity. It held the belief that poets, writers, and artists could lead to a better way of living, and above all, it explored the question of what it means to be human. Similarly, in the 16th and 17th centuries, Europe was in the grip of the scientific revolution. The scientific revolution espoused common sense in place of abstract reasoning. It emphasized the quantitative over the qualitative. It saw nature as a machine rather than an organism. It saw it as a machine subject to mechanical laws. It espoused the scientific method as a way of inquiry, and it saw more to the how of phenomenon rather than the why. And what was the brand that the scientific revolution emphasized? It was the brand of a spirit of inquiry that had emerged from the Renaissance and the Reformation, that spurred people to understand nature in a particular way, to develop laws that were predictive. And one of the best examples of this is Sir Isaac Newton, who we all studied in school physics. And what was the organization? It was the absolute monarchies of Europe. Now, let me take you to a very different era and let us talk about social innovation. Let us go back to the 3rd century BC in India, when the Mauryan Empire was at its zenith, when Emperor Ashoka was on the throne. Ashoka had inherited one of the largest empires in this part of the world. It extended from Afghanistan to the tip of the Indian peninsula, where only the kingdoms of the Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas were beyond its boundaries. After the conquest of Kalinga, his empire extended all the way to the Bay of Bengal on the east coast. Now here was an empire in antiquity that had people of different castes, of different sects, of different tribes and religions and beliefs, who were all within an umbrella of the Mauryan Empire. Ashoka's task was to develop an ideology to weld these disparate groups into an empire. I wouldn't say nation because that would be anachronistic, but into a large space where they could exist in peace and harmony. So he developed an ideology which came to be known as Dhamma, which is the Pali word for dharma. It emphasized non-violence. It encouraged people to live in peace and harmony and to respect everybody. It told people to treat the elderly, slaves and servants in a manner that was kind and considerate, and it emphasized public works. It even emphasized the well-being of animals, and he established hospitals for them. And how was this ideology to be spread? He adopted a particular method of erecting columns in far-flung parts of his empire, in the language of the people. In Afghanistan and the areas bordering the Greek Empire, he used Aramaic and Greek. He used it in the Kharoshti script. In other parts it was Pali, in the Brahmi script. And he spread this message of Dharma, or Dham in Pali. He also appointed a special class of officers called the Dharma Mahamatras, who to my mind are the earliest examples of public relations officials in the world. These officials were tasked with spreading the message of Dhamma among the people and making it acceptable for all. So here we have an example of a narrative being constructed that is purposive, that is focused, that is aimed at the people in order to motivate them to live peacefully and harmoniously in an empire. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the 3rd century BC, let me transport you to the 21st century, to our own times, to another great experiment in social innovation, the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, arguably the world's largest program of attitude change. The Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was launched in 2014 and the first phase concluded in 2019. It enlisted the ideology of a national icon, Mahatma Gandhi, and took his sayings, his teachings and examples and incidents from his life to convey the message of a hygienic lifestyle. And at the conclusion of phase 1 in 2019, to coincide with the 150th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, the nation was declared open defecation free. In these 5 years, 600 million people were granted access to toilets and 100 million toilets were constructed by the government. The Swachh Bharat Abhiyan also constructed a narrative based on the advantage of hygiene and the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi, and used a number of communication channels to spread the message of Swachhata. Some of the important channels of communication were the audiovisual channel, which used CDs, television programs, cinema, the print media, both the English language press and the vernacular press, the traditional media of folk theatre and Nukkad Natak, endorsements from sports persons and celebrities and local level influencers, and above all, the human communication channel, which had Asha workers, Anganwadi workers, students, NCC cadets, and practically anybody who could be roped in to spread the message of Swachh Bharat. And now, let us look at another great innovation which is still unfolding in India, the startup environment and the startup movement in India. From next to nothing, India today is the third largest ecosystem of startups in the world, and there is a year-on-year growth of 12 to 15%. By the end of 2019, there were 26 unicorns. Now, unicorns are those startups that have achieved a valuation of $1 billion or more. The startup vocabulary has some very colorful terms like gazelles and cheetahs. Gazelles are those companies who are likely to turn into unicorns in the next 2 years. And cheetahs are those companies who are likely to turn into unicorns in the next 4 years. By the end of 2020, 11 more unicorns were added, registering a growth of almost 42%. And I was reading somewhere that almost 3 unicorns are being added every month. And along with this growing population of unicorns, we have a swarm of gazelles and cheetahs all waiting to become unicorns. The startup narrative involved a number of elements. First of all, it involved a policy enunciation of Startup India, and enabling policies were put in place at all levels. Today, more than 26 states have a startup policy. Success stories of the early founders of startups were circulated in the social media, in electronic media, and most importantly, in print media. This, coupled with the fact that a number of people of Indian origin became CEOs of global technology companies like Google, like Microsoft, and most recently Twitter, fired the imagination of our youth who was looking for financial growth and financial wealth. It also tapped into the cultural stream and the deeply embedded vein of entrepreneurship in the Indian culture. In fact, even very recently, the Global Entrepreneurial Survey found out that more than 20% of the people between the ages of 18 and 64 wanted to start a business in the next 3 years. 63% of the people considered a startup or a business as a good career choice, which is above the global average. So we see, ladies and gentlemen, how a narrative was constructed using disparate elements of policy, of enunciation of the message in the media, and of harnessing both traditional strength and the modern strengths of information technology. Here we have an example of how the print media spread the message. We have the cover of a Fortune India magazine which carries a lead story, How I Built My Unicorn. So, ladies and gentlemen, we see the contribution of public relations in fostering an environment of creativity and innovation depends upon the construction of a compelling narrative that inspires, that defines a vision, that communicates a strategy and embodies culture. Now, if we were to apply these elements to the Indian startup story, we have an inspiration of early success which is communicated through media. It defined a vision of a technologically advanced nation, of a wealthy nation, of a nation of entrepreneurs who create jobs, who create wealth, and who strengthen the nation. It included a communication strategy that used a number of channels, an omni-channel communication strategy, and it embodied deeply embedded values in Indian culture and married them to strengths of modern information technology. A narrative has to be concise and yet comprehensive. it has to be specific, but it has to leave a room to grow. It has to have a certain element of ambiguity which can be interpreted by individuals in alignment with their perceptions, with their motivations, with their interpretation of circumstances and their feelings. A narrative has to be espoused in the human context. It cannot be developed in a vacuum. It has to include human beings, and it has to have a call to action for human beings. It has to have a shared purpose which defines a win-win situation for all the people involved. So, ladies and gentlemen, coming to the end of my session of sharing my thoughts with you on the role of public relations in fostering innovation and creativity, I once again emphasize that the success of this endeavor depends on the construction of a compelling narrative which fires the imagination of people and compels them to walk on the path that is laid out and to achieve the stated goals that the narrative seeks to convey. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Gagan Chaturvedi, for a wonderful presentation. Our next speaker is Mr. V M Bansal, Chairman, NDIM, Delhi. Mr. Vishwa Mohan Bansal is Chairman of New Delhi Institute of Management and has been distinguished bureaucrat, served Government of India, Government of Punjab and Delhi, and headed several public sector undertakings and the industry for 43 years at the highest levels, and has been advisor to the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. Shri Bansal will share with us experience of Skill Development Association with Japan, which his New Delhi Institute of Management has earned under his able leadership of Shri Bansal.
Friends and colleagues, I am V M Bansal, a former civil servant and presently the chairman of New Delhi Institute of Management, New Delhi. Today we will discuss the skill requirements and new age skills for jobs in Japan and the experience of New Delhi Institute of Management. I am extremely grateful to the PRSI President, Professor Ajit Pathak, who has very kindly given me the opportunity of discussing what we have done in the last 3.5 years and the opportunities which possibly I can suggest to lot of you present over here for Japan and with Japanese companies. Friends, while lot of jobs are emerging in our country in different roles, in different sectors, the Government of India has been making lot of efforts of getting jobs for each one of you in the other nations also. And Japan happens to be one of them. The reason being that by the year 2025, that's another 4 years, Japan plans to have 5 lakh people from across the world working in their country for different job roles of here. And for the first time, the Prime Minister of Japan and Prime Minister of India entered into an MOU in 2017 for 3 lakh workers to be going only from India under the TITP scheme. And yes, we were fortunate. The National Skill Development Council of India, which implements this scheme in India on behalf of the government, selected our college as one of the only MBA colleges in the country to train and send manpower to Japan. Resultantly, we set up an office in Japan, which is still continuing, and then we visited all the companies in Japan. 60 of them, multinationals, have already come to our campus in the last 2 years to meet Indian workforce and to see in what way they can be taken to Japan. So that is why I am saying lot of opportunities are emerging for you people, and we will gradually discuss them today in this discussion. So but what happened, as you are all aware, that during the last 18-20 months, due to the pandemic, all international doors were closed by India, by Japan, by all the countries. So despite best effort from both the governments, workers could not go to Japan. And now what happens is that both the government of Japan and the government of India have further simplified the way our people can go to Japan, and they've come out with a specified skilled workers scheme. This is very simple scheme. Under this scheme, even if you do not know Japanese, but you are good at one particular skill or two particular skills, then you can find a job in Japan very easily. Rather, Japanese are looking for you. So we will discuss possibly what exactly to be doing under the scheme. Our experience in the last 3.5 years of working with Japanese companies under this NSDC program is that Japanese people, Japanese companies, they are very highly professional. For them, 100% quality is the only criteria. For them, nothing matters more than their work. And I can quote one example. Recently, one former Lieutenant General of the Army, who is working in senior position with Maruti Suzuki here in India in Gurgaon, he mentioned to me that some Japanese workers who are with Maruti Suzuki in Gurgaon, they were sent for 1 month of training to Japan, and when they returned from the training, the Lieutenant General asked them how their families were in Japan and how many times did he meet them. You know what was the reply? It was shocking reply or a strange reply for we people in India. The workers replied that, sir, we had gone for a 30 days training program. For 30 days, we got ourselves trained. Directly from the airport, we went to the training center. And after 30 days, directly from the training center, we took the flight and we have come back to India, we have come back to Gurgaon. There was no question of meeting the families because that was not part of the agenda. Don't you think it looks slightly strange and surprising to all of us? But this is what their culture is. And that is why I thought before we get into the job roles, we should know what exactly are they looking for. They are looking for always things to be completed before time. If there is a meeting at 9 o'clock and you reach 9 o'clock, you are considered to be reaching late in the meeting. For them, 8:55 is what 9 o'clock meeting is. This is what we are learning with the Japanese for the last 3.5 years. And I can tell you, our experience has been lot of learning, lot of improvement in quality, lot of commitment to the job. Yes, TITP, as I mentioned, didn't take up because of the COVID, but now large number of you should just look at the websites of the NSDC Government of India or the Japanese government website on SSW. I mentioned Specified Skilled Workers Scheme. Under that, hundreds of job skills have been identified and notified. You just try to get good, try to become very, very good at any of the skills that are there. And I can assure you, we'll help you find a beautiful job in Japan without any limitations, without any bonds, without any guarantees, and without possibly even knowing the Japanese language. Our experience, as I mentioned, has been good because 60 Japanese companies have visited our campus in the last 2.5 years in Delhi. And because of the COVID, then we thought how to really utilize the opportunity. So we made our MBA students learn Japanese language. Why we did so? Because currently there are 1441 Japanese companies operating in India. So anybody who is good at Japanese language, in addition to their engineering or MBA skills, are straight away picked up by the Japanese companies. So lot of new opportunities already emerging. But that is only the beginning. What's going to happen next? That's what I'll tell you right now. With the COVID happening, with differences between the government of Japan and government of China growing very big, government of Japan is now trying its best to reduce its operations in China as much and as far as possible. They are going to the extent of incentivizing Japanese companies to leave China and to move to other countries. Currently, the trade between Japan and China, they are two biggest trading partners in the world as of now. But in the next 5 years, Japan is trying to reduce this trade partnership to a very big extent, because they have seen that after COVID or during COVID, Japanese companies suffered in a very big way because of the supply chain problems between the two countries and especially in China. So, and where are these Japanese companies which are operating in China, where are they going to go? Quite a large number of them are going to be in India, in your country, in our country, because of several reasons. One, India is a democracy. Two, India and Japan are very strong partners. You would have seen that India and Japan are partners in the Quad also. So, Japanese government is trying to bring most of their industries or incentivizing the industries to come to India. It may take 3 years, it may take 5 years. So on that score also, lot of jobs for each one of you are likely to come up. Number one, with Japanese companies in India. Number two, with Japanese companies in Japan. And thirdly, in case you learn Japanese language, you can be the first choice of Japanese companies even in other countries of the world. So with that intention, we started the Japan Center 2.5 years back, and that Japan Center at our campus perhaps the only one in any MBA college of the country, that was inaugurated by Pranab Mukherjee Sahab and Japan's ambassador to India. What has happened thereafter? Thereafter, JICA and all the other Japanese organizations are coming forward. They have made us as their close partner, close friend in promoting Japanese language, Japanese culture, and preparing Indians for jobs with Japanese. Large number of our MBA students are now straight away entering the Japanese companies. That is a new benefit that our MBA students have got because of the full-fledged Japan center with us. And there's a big opportunity here also for all the PR professionals here, whom I congratulate today for the 43rd annual conference, and for all the people who will be winning the PRSI National Awards today. This is a great event. But what I was going to tell you is that tremendous work will emerge, would emanate out of the Japanese companies coming to India, looking for, say, social media promotions, looking for connecting with the media, connecting with the industry, connecting with other Indian counterparts. And they would heavily bank upon those public relation professionals who have good knowledge of the Japanese culture and who know, if not much, at least the basics of Japanese language. So in addition to all the younger friends and all the senior friends who are looking for job roles in Japan or with Japanese companies, I also suggest to my colleague friends in the PR industry across the country that they must also find time to study Japanese language. This will certainly add a lot to their future initiatives, business initiatives, consulting initiatives, training initiatives. Yes, it will be surprising. What I am going to tell you is why Japanese language or Japanese culture is going to be the need of the day after some time is evident from the fact that in the last 12 months during the COVID, in the online mode, the senior CEO and managing director of Sri Ram Industries, I should not be naming him, he along with his wife and daughter, they got trained from us on Japanese language. Similarly, very senior professionals, group managers, group general managers from Apollo Tyres, from Mitsui Chemical, which is a Japanese company, and large number of other companies, their senior professionals came to us for training. A very senior IPS officer from Punjab cadre, he got Japanese training with us in the recent months and got a certificate only last month. And I learned and sent me a great note of gratitude and thanks. So my suggestion to each one of you is that please prepare in that direction. Lot of opportunities are available for you with Japanese companies in India, with Japanese companies in Japan, with Japanese companies in all other countries, provided you expertise in one or two or three specific skills. But let me tell you, in those skills, you need to be really good. Future belongs to you. Yes, we are available to you. The entire PRSI platform is available to you. You can contact us through the PRSI, or you can reach anybody else. You don't have to come to us. You please go anywhere else where you get these learnings because my job is to guide you onto these opportunities which are available. In addition to the Japanese experience that we recently been having for the last 3.5 years, lot of jobs are also emerging in Korea. Although between Korea and Japan they may be having estranged relationships, but these very skills, these very aspects of the culture will help you get good jobs even with the Korean industry and in the country of Korea, because they too believe in 100% quality, they too believe in delivering things before time. And we have seen that in India, it is the Japanese companies and it is the Korean companies which are known for their quality. So nothing much do I need to say more than that, but I would only suggest to you that time is very ripe for each one of you to please get going. And another thing what we have learned all this while is so many educational institutions, schools, colleges, they continue to be teaching the curriculum or the books which were decided several years back. The countries like Japan or Korea or even India of tomorrow, India of future, is not looking for those teachings or those skills which were required yesterday. All of them are looking for those things which will be required tomorrow. And who will tell you what is required for tomorrow? Now you have the YouTube available to you, now you have Google available to you. So all the times try to know what exactly would be needed tomorrow and try to make your expertise around that. We have that benefit. You go to any academic site, you go to UGC, you go to AICTE, you go to the Ministry of Education of the Government of India or the Government of Uttarakhand or any other state government. The biggest problem everybody is facing is of industry-academia connect. The academia doesn't know what industry is wanting. Resultantly, a large number of engineers or MBAs do not get the jobs because what they have been trained at yesterday's skills. They have not been trained at what would be needed tomorrow by the industry. So we can hold your hand there too with the support and assistance of the PRSI, because the Government of India and the entire Confederation of Indian Industry, the FICCI, the SOCHM, they have declared us as the best industry-linked college of the country continuously for a period of 3 years. So we keep on connecting with the industry to know what is required tomorrow, and we try to teach only that what is required tomorrow. I can only tell you all, there's a lot of discussion everywhere, a lot of despondency everywhere that jobs are not there in India. I have entirely different impression of it. I find jobs are there in big numbers. Lot of jobs are there in our country. The person who has to give the job, he is not getting what he is looking for. The people who appear for jobs, for job interviews, are not in a position to convince them that they are the right candidate. The job provider is looking for something like X, and the student doesn't have X but the student has Y with him. Resultantly, the job provider cannot give him the job. So you need to be seeing what exactly the job provider is wanting. If you can give that, you will get the job within a minute. So our experience has been extremely good, as I repeat, because we are in continuous and constant touch with the industry, with the recruiter, who tell us what they are looking for. And to our big surprise, I want to share a very happy news that this year our MBA students who are still in their third semester, they have not completed third semester, they have not done fourth semester, and those who have been studying with us for the last 14 months in the online mode because of COVID, 52 of them have got great jobs with Deloitte. 25 of them have got great jobs with Ernst & Young and with so many big companies in third semester of their MBA. So coming back to you, my request is please go back to your teacher or go back to Google, go back to YouTube, go back to your friends, go back to your mentors, go back to any of your seniors and try to know what exactly is required tomorrow by the recruiter and please work around that. And for lot of jobs, which I mentioned, 5 lakh jobs Japanese want to give worldwide, 3 lakh out of them to Indians in the next 4 years. So lot of scope is there provided you work towards those specific skills which I just mentioned to you. So thank you very much. It's been long time that I have taken, but I must, before I exit, I must thank in a very big way the PRSI for giving me the opportunity of connecting with each one of you today. Great congratulations to all the award winners of the PRSI and fantastic 43rd year of the Honorary Conference. Thank you very much, Dr. Ajit Pathak, for giving me the opportunity of meeting and speaking to the younger friends. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bansal, for your nice presentation. Now we have a break for lunch. Again, join us at 1 p.m. for second segment of the conference.